Today, we're going to explore something truly profound, the life of Sri Ramakrishna and his radical spiritual experiment. His goal was to find one universal truth by actually living the paths of many different religions. It's an incredible story.
So let's just start with the big question right up front. Is it even possible for one person to genuinely walk the paths of totally different faiths and somehow arrive at the same ultimate truth? Well, this very question is what drove a 19th century mystic to embark on one of the most extraordinary spiritual experiments in history. And here he is, Sri Ramakrishna. But for our purposes today, I want you to think of him not just as a saint, but more like a spiritual scientist. You see, he wasn't interested in just theories or books. He had to know. So he decided to test this whole idea of a universal truth himself through his own direct personal experience.
Okay, so take a look at this. This is basically the roadmap of his quest. And what's wild is the time frame. In just a few short years, he completely immersed himself in these wildly different traditions. We're talking from the deep devotional love of Vaishnavism, all the way to the formless reality of Advaita Vedanta. And then he went even further, into the paths of Islam and Christianity. This timeline really gives you a sense of just how intense and focused his search truly was.
So where do we start? Well, let's begin right where he did, with the paths of devotion. This first big chapter of his journey was all about connecting with the divine through the incredibly powerful emotion of love. And, as you'll see, love in its many, many different forms.
Now, the first of these devotional moods he perfected is called Vatsalya Bhava. So what is that? It's this beautiful idea of loving God not as some distant, powerful ruler, but with that tender, intimate affection a parent feels for their very own child. It's a total shift in perspective.
And you might be wondering, how real did this get for him? Well, get this. He had this small metal image of the child Rama, known as Ram Lala. And for him, it wasn't a symbol. It was a living child. He would literally feed it, bathe it, play with it. He'd even get upset with it for running around in the sun. His love was so intense, it just completely dissolved that line between a metal statue and the living divine.
Okay, so from parental love, he then dove into an even more intense form of devotion, Madhura Bhava. You can think of this as the spiritual mood of a lover for their beloved. We're talking about a romantic, all-consuming passion, but directed entirely towards God. And when I say he committed, I mean his commitment was total. To fully embody this feeling, he lived for 6 whole months as a gopi, one of the milkmaids, completely devoted to Lord Krishna. He wore women's clothing, adopted their mannerisms. He went so deep into it, it said his very body started to change. And it all culminated in this incredible vision, where Krishna, the great beloved, actually merged into his body.
So just when you think he's reached the absolute peak of devotion to a personal God with form, his journey takes this huge, dramatic turn. He's suddenly challenged to let go of everything he'd just perfected and take a leap of faith into the vast, formless absolute.
This huge turning point came in the form of a wandering monk named Totapuri, a hardcore follower of Advaita Vedanta. And this chart here, it shows you just how different their worldviews were. They were polar opposites. For Ramakrishna, his beloved Divine Mother Kali was 100% real. But for Totapuri, all gods were just mental constructs. Ramakrishna saw the world as divine play, Totapuri saw it as pure illusion. You couldn't get two more different perspectives.
So, Totapuri offers to guide Ramakrishna to the experience of the formless Brahman. Sounds simple enough, right? Wrong. For 3 straight days, Ramakrishna struggled like never before. Every single time he tried to dissolve his mind, to go beyond form, this beautiful, radiant image of his mother Kali would pop up. His immense love for her had become the final barrier he had to cross.
Totapuri sees his students struggling, and he does something, pretty dramatic. He finds a shard of glass, presses it firmly right between Ramakrishna's eyebrows, and just commands him, "Concentrate here." It was this shocking physical act, all designed to force a breakthrough right then and there.
And it worked. Following his teacher's command, Ramakrishna mentally summons what's called the sword of discrimination, and with it, in his mind's eye, he slices that beloved form of his mother in two. And the very instant he does that, boom, his consciousness shatters that final barrier, and he plunges deep into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the highest state of formless non-dual consciousness. He stayed in that state apparently without breath or a pulse for 3 whole days.
But here's the thing, he didn't just stay there forever. After about 6 months, he is said to have received a divine command to remain in Bhavamukha. Now, this is a really fascinating and unique state. It basically means living right on the threshold between the formless absolute and our everyday world of forms. Why? So he could be a teacher and a guide for the rest of us, all while staying completely rooted in that ultimate reality.
Okay, so at this point, he's realized both the personal loving God and the impersonal formless absolute all within his own tradition. So what's next? His great spiritual experiment expanded. He turned his attention to other major world religions with that same core question. Do these other great rivers also lead to the very same ocean?
First up, Islam. In 1866, he was initiated by a Sufi mystic, and for the next 3 days, his immersion was, once again, total. He repeated the name of Allah, he dressed as a Muslim, he followed the practices, he even stopped visiting his beloved Kawi temple. And this intense practice led to a powerful vision. He saw a radiant, bearded personage who he understood to be the Prophet Muhammad come towards him and merge completely into his body.
Then, a few years later, his spiritual quest turned to Christianity. And this one started really simply, just by listening to someone read from the Bible and by looking at a painting of the Madonna and Child. But that was enough. That simple act triggered another profound spiritual absorption. For 3 days, he was completely filled with the consciousness of Christ. And then, just like before, he had a vision. He saw Jesus Christ, who embraced him and then merged into his being. So, after walking these incredibly diverse paths, devotional, non-dual, Islamic, and Christian, you have to ask, what was the final result of this grand experiment? Well, this brings us to his great synthesis, the incredible conclusion of his entire life's work.
Let's break down the core realizations from his journey. From Vaishnavism, he experienced the power of loving God as a person. From Advaita Vedanta, he knew the formless, non-dual reality. From his Islamic practice, he concluded that the God described in the Quran is the very same as the Brahman of the Vedas. And from his Christian experience, he saw that the path of Christ also leads to that exact same divine merger.
All of this led to his simple yet world-changing declaration, Jeta Mat, Tato Path. As many faiths, so many paths. His lived experience had shown him that all religions are valid. They're like different rivers, you know, each carving its own unique course through the landscape, but every single one is flowing to the same vast ocean of ultimate reality.
And that really leaves us with a profound question to think about, doesn't it? If what Sri Ramakrishna experienced is true, if all these different paths really do lead to the same mountain summit, then what does that mean for us today? How does that change how we look at our own path, and maybe even more importantly, how we look at the paths of everyone else?
Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey today.
Before you go, I just want to tell you a little bit about us. Here at Kosh, we're a multilingual channel, sharing spiritual wisdom in English, Hindi, Marathi, Tamil, and Bengali, with even more major languages on the way. Our whole goal is to bring you these timeless treasures of Sanatan Dharma in a way that's simple, clear, and really meaningful. On our channel, you'll find daily videos on everything from the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita to the lives of the great saints, and it's all available in multiple languages.
So, if you find what we do valuable, please subscribe to Kosh. That way you'll get notified about all our daily videos. And of course, don't forget to like this explainer, share it, and help spread this divine knowledge with your family, your friends, and your community. Together, let's keep the light of Sanatan Dharma shining bright.